Welcome everybody to Beat the Shift Baseball. This is episode 109 for Tuesday, June 8th. We got a great show for you today. We're back after a couple weeks. We will, of course, be talking about the topic everybody's been talking about, the sticky stuff, what is going on, what are pitchers doing with that. But we'll also be talking about college baseball a little bit because it is that time of year, and I think a lot of people know what's going on but don't know much more than that. So we'll go into that a little bit as well. So yeah, before we jump into, make sure that you take a second and go follow us on our social medias as well, at Beat the Shift BP on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That is the easiest place to talk to us. We want to hear what you have to say about the topics that we talk about. So go there to do that. And also, if you're on YouTube as well, of course, this video podcast will be there from now on, but some other videos as well coming up soon there. So go ahead and subscribe as well. All right, let's get into it. I'm Alex Zui. I'm here today with the whole crew, Alex Roude, Farbod Markazi, and Estrada. What's up, guys? How you doing?
I'm a bit stressed right now. Yeah.
A little bit?
Yeah, you mentioned college baseball. My Ducks here
let's
down
paint a picture.
with an out left.
Yeah.
Tying run on second.
Yeah, if I look that way, there's one out left in the game, so we gotta score here.
Yeah, I'm not. I got my phone down here.
This is definitely one of those moments where I'm really glad that we have face cam for this. We'll just see it. We'll see it before we hear it, if there's any kind of reaction going on to this game. But yes, his Oregon Ducks are fighting for their college baseball lives there.
We seem to often podcast when like Farbod's teams are like in a stressful late inning situation.
That's the teams I choose.
Yeah,
it's just the teams I choose.
Yeah, that's the West Coast life that we got. That's how it is.
Except the Angels didn't give you a degree.
Yeah, I mean, hey, the Angels won today, so we did something right.
Yeah.
Dylan Bundy finally got himself a win.
Woohoo!
Well, despite what a lot of people might think about us at this point, we are not exclusively an Angels podcast. We do talk about all kinds of baseball stuff. It's usually just MLB stuff, but like I said, a little bit of college baseball today as well. But we will start on the MLB side of things because a lot has happened since we last podcast, particularly with regards to the sticky stuff. If you don't know what we're talking about, there have been a lot of reports, like firsthand reports from pitchers and players around the league confirming that, for a long time now, using foreign substances on the baseball as pitchers is just part of the norm now, and especially in recent years, using stronger and stronger industrial glue grade materials to enhance their grip and enhance their spin rate to make their pitches perform better. So that is not a singularly isolated event. That was redundant, but it's league wide is the whole point of this, based on various reports that have come out about it and firsthand accounts of it. And it has popped up in the past as well, here and there, but really now we're at the point where everybody's familiar with the fact that this happens. Like, that part's not in question anymore. The question now is, like, what does the league do going forward, and how will the players respond to what the leagues respond? Now it's like the back and forth of, like, okay, really, what do we do now? Because, like, everybody knows about this. We can't keep it hush hush anymore. I'll go ahead and start with you, Ray, on this one, and particularly because one of the pioneers of the foreign substance saga is on your team, Mr. Trevor Bauer himself, very outspoken about everything in the past, and is a likely user and benefactor from this trend as well. So I guess, like, where you can take it from wherever starting point you want, but just like as from the Trevor Bauer
I mean, yeah.
portion of this whole story.
So I'll start with the fact that, before the season there was a reported crackdown. They confiscated the balls from Trevor Bauer, his first start of the year, to go to independent lab. We heard nothing from that. Nothing came of that, and now we're hearing of like an actual crackdown with like suspensions and they say they're going to test, and they say it's going to be implemented in the next 2 weeks. To me, I will agree to a point that the sticky stuff, in terms of the type of stuff they're using, has gotten to maybe a little too ridiculous. But the open secret of pine tar and the mix of sunscreen and rosin and maybe some other substances is long been just accepted as part of baseball. You have your guys who had too much of it and made it really obvious. Your Michael Pinedas and such. But that got to a point where it was relatively easy to enforce. But I think it's something that MLB needs to. I think they need to legalize pine tar and stuff like that, because just keep it simple. And then if there's any other substances like this crazy glue that it seems the guys are using, then yeah, that might be a little ridiculous. But I'll go with Nick Castellanos' view on this, where he doesn't care what guys are using. If the ball's there, he's going to hit it hard.
My thing is,
him.
yeah, dude. My thing is, it's always confused me because I've seen hitters and pitchers' standpoints on this, and pitchers obviously they know people who use this, and at least what I've heard, like via like the Chris Rose rotation, like interviews like that, they're up for like a conversation about it, how to decrease it, at least regulate it. Some hitters, unlike Nick Castellanos, are like, let's just get it out of the league, or at least be honest with it. Have like one part of the glove where you're putting it. But I did have a interesting question about it. It was like, I forget which guest it was on the rotation that said, how are they gonna enforce this? He said basically when they announced that they were taking balls from like Trevor Bauer and some pitchers, they did not know, like, how do you know that a ball off the bat that has a lot of pine tar isn't suddenly going to be attributed to, like, we just lost, isn't going to be suddenly attributed. Oh, dang. That sucks. Well, TV's off. How do they know that like a ball off the bat, or like a foul ball, or like whatever ball they grab isn't going to be attributed to like a hitter with pine tar, or what, or like, I mean, if I don't know if fielders are doing that, and to make
fielders all have pine tar. The only person not allowed to have pine tar technically is the pitcher. Catchers can have pine tar. Martin Maldonado for years has had a giant glob of pine tar in his shin guard. So and, you see, fielders with it all the time. So yeah, how do they know where it came from?
Yeah.
And there was an interesting video. Eric Sim, for those of you who follow him on YouTube, he posted that he went through all the different types of like sticky stuff and sunscreen and rosin and everything, and just measured the RPMs on his own pitches. Like, he's not throwing 90 plus, but there is a clear rise in your spin rates and the RPMs on the spin rate. The stickier the substance gets. But for me, it's, yes, you want to have a level playing field. It's just up to the league to actually say they want to have a level playing field, instead of making Trevor Bauer just the scapegoat of this all. And for them to find a good way to actually address this, instead of just taking balls and that could have just been that could have just had pine tar or substances on it because of the hitter or the catcher or the infielders.
Yeah, and if I can, like, cite your source from the Rose rotation, that was Trevor Williams, actually, who was a guest on the rotation with Stephen Brault. We're late to the party on this, by the way. Like, we are not the first by any means to be talking about it in even this current wave of news. Really, a lot of interesting perspectives we've mentioned from players and other members of the baseball community, media, whoever it may be, and a lot of really in-depth analysis on this too. even on like r/baseball, with people posting using baseball savant data, which, if you don't know, is able to track spin rate on pretty much every pitch, and it has for like 5 years now. And they can use that to kind of figure out, okay, these pitchers that see a significant jump, 2 to 300 RPM on their four seam fastball, or on all their secondary pitches, really, like you can see just by combing through this data, okay, these pitchers probably started using some stickier stuff, or started using anything at all. That's not to say that's always the case, because that's not really how investigative research works, but it is pretty amazing that we have so much in-depth knowledge from both within the game and outside the game, and now it really is, what do we do next? And I'll ask you, Rudy, just it seems to all go back to Trevor Bauer, because like we said, he's been the most vocal about it, and that's why it seems like he is the cover boy for, will he be the scapegoat for the league? I imagine if this happens, where they start suspending players for it, it's not just going to be Trevor Bauer. Like, he is not going to take all the heat himself, but you can be certain that he will be the first voice to be heard on the player side of things if something does happen. And there's even been, since this has been happening, the most recent starts from Trevor Bauer and Garrett Cole, a couple of the highest profile pitchers who are, known users of some kind of grip substance on the ball, saw a slight downtick in their RPM, in their revolutions per minute on their pitches in their last outing. So people are like, are they walking it back now that the league's threatening suspensions? What do you think is the realistic course of action here that the league will end up taking, Rudy?
I wasn't sure when the question was gonna.
There's so much context, because we're so late to the party on everything here, and we haven't really offered the context.
I love the build up. At the end of the day, I think, and it was the perfect question. It was the one I was looking for, so I appreciate it.
Yes.
It all comes down to and it's the conversation we have actually pretty much every episode in some shape or form, which is that baseball is at this existential crisis in terms of questioning its own entertainment product. And I personally think it's a bigger story because of people claiming that this year's iteration of the sport is the pitching is too effective because the deaded ball is part of this too. I think Trevor Bauer, for the hardcore fans like us, is definitely the scapegoat that leads the conversation. I think that the national media conversation that this estimates to is more about the usual boring baseball conversation. Baseball is not fun anymore, that we don't have to get into, but to answer why that goes back to the way baseball can implement this, and what I think you asked, if I didn't forget my own rant, the question is what's the effective punishment? I mean, you guys can feel free to disagree. I'd be pretty surprised if they just start handing out tons of suspensions. I think it's more of a threat than it really is I would be surprised there's a lot of bite, to this bark here. But I do think what Ray said at the very beginning about how pine tar is probably just leave it at pine tar, and then say once you go progress back to that, then suspensions start getting rolled out, and you guys can correct me what the actual rule is. I think that before we had this conversation, I was thinking just get rid of everything. But what Ray said really convinced me. That makes perfect sense to me, and I don't know why the solution is just not that simple. Because I remember you guys remember Clay Buchholz? He would pitch in super humid weather, in the late 2000s, and he'd be sweating, dripping in sweat, and he was using that bullfrog spray, and then he would just rub his entire body together like a lizard or something.
Yeah, you'll see guys just pat their forearm with rosin.
Yeah, it's well, that's to
Buchholz
me,
doing that
I
crazy.
think that's cheating. No other position has an equivalent to that extent, and clearly the performance is effective. And Garrett Cole, Trevor Bauer called it out. When you got to the Astros and they were the kings of this whole spin rate hack, that's when he became the ace he became. And then Trevor Bauer adopted it, and he became the ace he became. So I think, just to end this, this long rant. I think what it really boils down to is baseball think that this is taking away from their entertainment product that they make money off of. I think the answer seems to be yes. And maybe this will escalate if the players end up kind of rebelling at some point to these new rules, and because if, like, Cole and Bauer keep on, if that becomes a commonplace where these guys' effectiveness is significantly diminished, will there be a tension between the players in the league of, well, I don't care if I get caught, like I'm going to pitch my RPMs regardless. Then you can have a situation where I think the suspensions will come into play more. They'll have to make, like, and just to finish it up, and then we can move on. I think you said it, Uli. Someone's going to have to be made the example of, for sure. I think that's a good call. I don't think they're going to be, it seems once again unlikely that just have like 50 suspensions for everyone who does this. But you're going to choose some big name at some point when they slip up. And I think, Ray said, like, when Michael Pineda would just have like a mound of black stuff on his like cap. I don't, no one does it that obviously anymore.
On his neck too.
On his neck. I mean, that was egregious for
That's
sure.
like my favorite ejection.
I mean, I think you have a whole conversation the other day, just like all the people who just have done it in just like the most obvious way. I think that's a fascinating subject in itself. Just like, I don't care.
Yeah, we didn't even get to, I believe it was Gallegos of the Cardinals who, who had
I
their,
totally forgot about that.
They were asked to get a different cap because just very clearly on the top side of the bill of the cap that he had some sort of substance, whether it was pine tar or whether it was sunscreen rosin, which is what he was claiming it was, obviously, because that's a legal substance to have. And I believe it was Joe West just said, grab a different hat, and that way, like, we don't even have to worry about whether or not cheating's happening. Like, that'll solve the problem proactively, which, good response, good action. But you can't, like, long term, you can't just ask them to change hats every time. There needs to be a more permanent solution there for sure. And so many different notes have already been touched on, like, with regards to why punishing players is going to be so difficult to do this year. For one, because it is so deeply entrenched, and two, because, like Farbod said, you really have no way of telling based on balls that are collected, like, okay, this pitcher's cheating for sure based on this, like, because this sticky substance could have come from a number of different places. It could have come from the bat. It could have come from the catcher. It could have come from a position player. And, like, that's just part of it at this point. And there's going to be it's going to be major CBA ammunition. I don't know for who yet, but it will be involved in that discussion.
Is it
for sure.
easier to, do you guys think it would be easier to regulate this and just have rules on like it's pine tar and rosin and that's it, or and then have punishments, or just like punishments and then wait until the CBA or whatever? I don't think anything's going to make the players happy just because of the current relationship between the league and the Players Association anyways.
Yeah, I think at the very least they have to. I think you got to give these guys pine tar, just middle ground at that, and then but you're still left with the same issues of like.
But there's a rosin bag behind every mound, so you can't like say no to the rosin bag.
Well,
no, exactly. I mean, and guys wear sunscreen all the time, especially day games. So like, how do you tell them not mix rosin and sunscreen?
Yeah. So I guess the final question that each of us can answer is, like, if it were up to you, what do you think the solution would be, at least for the rest of the season, before they can figure out a more concrete solution? And what I think the realistic outcome will be is nothing. Like, nothing will change, but I think they will make some sort of statement to make clear that, like, okay, like, every pitcher in the league seems to know at this point that we are not just going to start, like, mass suspending players, but stop trying to bite off even more at this point. Like, if you do, anything even more obvious, like, you will be ejected and suspended from games, because it really from the beginning has been a situation where they were given an inch and they took a mile with the leeway that they were given for decades, and really only in the last decade or so has it become to this point where it's basically glue that you're applying to your fingers, small amounts of glue.
It's gotten excessive.
That
it's
Yeah,
it's
the most telling quote or like accounts from players. I think that really sticks out in my mind and in a lot of people's minds is it almost sounds at times like the skin is ripping away from the baseball. Like you can hear the pitch leaving the hand, and when it's that kind of audible account, you're like, yeah, okay, that does seem extreme.
So I mean I get like the rosin or whatever usage of like just having a better grip on the ball, but I don't buy the whole I need this extremely sticky substance so I don't throw fast so I don't miss with my 99-mile-an-hour fastball and hit the guy in the head. These guys are like, I mean, yes, every major leaguer has their own faults, but I don't think like the sticky stuff is strictly meant to like for command too. I think it's there's other uses that these pitchers are using them for. And going Uwe, you made a you touched on this about the CBA. I don't think there's going to be any suspensions because if Major League Baseball wants to strike on their hands and piss off the players even more and ruin their negotiations this summer before the CBA before the next collective bargaining agreement deadline, that's when the suspensions will start happening. But I think, like you said, there will be threats. There's going to be conversation about it, and if there's someone that's way too egregious, yeah, then that's where the suspensions will start. But I feel like it would be a terrible negotiation tactic to piss off the other party before you go into a heated negotiation. Oh, what's already going to be a heated negotiation.
Yeah, I guess at this point we will wait and see, and I'm sure check back in regularly throughout the season. We'll see if we can get somebody with a little more direct insight in on this too, maybe, because we're all sitting here at home and maybe hearing from somebody who knows a little bit more about the substances themselves and how much this really does impact things would be interesting to hear.
Email Trevor Bauer.
Hey, you never know, right? Hey, but also the one of the funniest things about all this might be the fact that, at least according to every one of Jacob deGrom's teammates, is that the best pitcher in baseball right now, who is seemingly pitching beyond the human limits of what is possible at this current time, is by all accounts not using it. And they are like, could you imagine if he was? Nobody would ever touch the ball. And the guy's got a .62 ERA as of right now. So that's pretty funny to me too, is that he is pretty much exempt from this. Like, there's explicit video of guys like Garrett Cole, Trevor Bauer, and plenty others. I only named the highest profile name guys, but
I saw one with Darvish.
Reaching for the glove, reaching for the cap on every single pitch. DeGrom, he's not one of those guys. You speculate just because, like, how is he doing this? He's so good. He's so ridiculously good. He has to be cheating. He's cheating. Other people are cheating. He's cheating. No.
Yeah,
they clipped
the
video
have an
of
insane jump when he went somewhere new. He just steadily got better and better.
Yeah,
they clipped a video of DeGrom like grabbing his glove where the ball, like where he was putting the ball, anyways, and made the whole thing out of like he's touching for sticky stuff. I was like, I mean, if you're putting it right on the tip of your glove right there, you're asking to get suspended, right? Anyways,
yeah, I don't know. We'll see a lot more unfold, though, is the point of all this. And yeah, I think we should move on from there. And as promised, we will talk a little college baseball. Farbod, very sorry, friend, about the very recent loss.
This. I honestly feel like this was a pretty surprise. I mean, good for them. Great team, great offense, but I'm excited for next year.
Yeah. All right, Ray, if you want to give a 1 minute or so overview of just like what the heck is happening right now. We just saw 64 teams go down to we're down to 16 teams after tonight now, right?
We're gonna be down to 16.
Yeah. So go ahead and give us the rundown as best you can.
Yeah. So if you're confused on what happened this weekend, there were 16 regional sites. There were 4 teams at each, 64 teams. It is not like March Madness where you have single elimination all the way to the end. So these are 16 double elimination tournaments, and So now these 16 teams, most of them are settled. Stanford is close to beating Irvine. Currently, Old Dominion and Virginia have a game to play tomorrow, winner take all, to fill out the bracket. So you go to super regionals next weekend. It will be best 2 out of 3. That'll be 2 teams, best 2 out of 3. So that you go from 16 to 8, and then you go to the College World Series, which is 2 double elimination brackets for each side. You come together for a best of 3 championship series. So there's been some, college baseball in general is crazy. It's fun. You get a lot of awesome results. Not a whole lot of chalk. Florida became the 14th nationally ranked seed to go 0-2 when they host a regional. So that's fun. You're going to see a lot of SEC teams in this tournament.
All right. Yeah, I think that was this is a pretty good breakdown because I knew it was going on this weekend. I saw scores. I had no idea format wise what the heck was going on. Like, UCI's playing Stanford again. Like, what they're playing 3 games. What's happening here?
There's a lot.
It's very confusing.
There's a lot of games today actually that required So for the sake of double elimination, if you come out of losers bracket, you have to beat the team twice to advance, and a lot of that actually happened yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Today
and
too.
For equality's sake, the Women's College World Series has reached its final. Tomorrow it will start. Florida State and Oklahoma will be playing a best of 3 series.
That tournament's been so much fun to watch. The softball College World Series has been so much fun to watch. These upsets. Shout out James Madison for the fight they put up against Oklahoma.
Odyssey Alexander.
This has been so much fun. And I mean, hopefully all these sports, college baseball, college softball, just keep advancing, progressing, because it's a really great it's a really great piece of entertainment and a really great sport to have, and to focus on, not only just like college football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty weird just from. If we go broader, we zoom out a little bit now and just talk about how little is known about college baseball and softball in particular, when college sports across the United States anyway are extremely popular on the basketball and football end of things. And it's an extreme drop off there because, a lot of the same reasons why college football and college basketball are so popular do apply in the same sense to baseball, and from the perspective of just like a local cult community type of following that kind of lasts in perpetuity because people that leave those schools or those areas, they're very connected to the school in general, but just for some reason baseball in particular just hasn't had that same kind of impact, on the national media scale as some of these other sports.
There are schools in the Southeast that, like, no matter what, they pack their stadium, overpack their stadium with fans.
Oh, that's
It's kind of surprising where I remember, actually, funny hot button issue. I mean, hot button person that we're talking about, Trevor Bauer, I was listening to him talking about his days at UCLA, and you would think that, like, playing on the West Coast, where, like, I mean, the best high school baseball areas are, and it's bright, sunny, like 300 days out of the year, you would have a huge baseball fandom, and you would have a ton of people showing up at your games. But it's mostly in the Southeast. I mean, there was a person within the Oregon baseball program that told me a couple of years back that while the Oregon baseball program is relatively young, they've gone on campus before, and they've gotten the response of, "We didn't know we had a baseball program," from students.
That's a big contrast.
I think, I mean, from my experience, Uwe, you and I met at UCSD. They don't hype up a lot of baseball stuff. Our team finished runner up our freshman year in the D2 national championship. Heard nothing about it.
Yeah.
So, like, there's a lot to do with the schools not investing any like not much money or attention to their
It's
own
also the
baseball teams,
NCAA.
to your point, Farbod.
Yeah.
It's also the
Yeah.
NCAA, not like making that entertainment factor, that marketing, as big of their as big a part of their budget and like efforts. And I'm not gonna go down the whole rabbit hole of revenue sport, not non-revenue sport. We've talked about that countless times off
I can
air.
tell Rudy's
Is this,
itching though. I can tell he's itching.
is this called air? Like, is this called air? I don't know what this is called, but yeah, we've gone down that rabbit hole before. So I do understand the whole college football, college basketball. You put your eggs where you make the money, but at the same time, you hope that the college baseball, college softball continue to progress.
Mm-hmm. I know Farbod said he's not going down the rabbit hole, but I can tell you want to at least a little bit, Rudy. Let
I
him
just
do his
want to
thing.
rant.
I just want to say two really quick things.
Yeah, let's hear it.
One is I think we should remember that a lot of the best baseball talents go straight to the professionals, straight from high school, which college basketball up until now kind of they can play professional, but for a long time, in our lives at least, that basically wasn't possible. And obviously in football, they have to stay till they're juniors. And I think that in football makes a huge difference that these guys are.
I think there's a difference too is the fact that even your really good college baseball players, they're not going to the majors right away.
Yeah, a lot of them.
There is that draft. There's that draft, but even a guy comes up quick. It's a year and a half since he's been drafted.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think there's that too. Is the fact that it's not necessarily that instant gratification of, like, how is he going to make an impact on this team right now? It's when does he come? When does he get here?
Rudy, I know you had a second point, but I do have a question regarding your first point.
Sure.
On that note, if baseball with baseball decreasing the amount of rounds in the draft and everything, do you think there will be a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year go to college or like removed from high school rule, similar to basketball or football, that would to Ray's point, I mean the baseball draft is just completely different than the others.
Well, so the MLB draft, you have to be in school for 3 years.
If you go to college.
At a 4 year, yeah. At a 4
Well, if
year.
you're at community college, you can leave after 2
anytime. Yeah. Say at a 4 year college, you have to be there for 3 years. Yeah,
I don't think
I
they
think
would
even one.
change the rules just because I don't think it would work because they already have the hack that they're adding to basketball, which is you could just now sign with an independent team that's affiliated with baseball. If you really didn't want to go to school anymore, and they banned high school players getting drafted straight to teams. I feel like there's so many independent leagues now that are affiliated. I think there's like at least 2, if not 3. I feel like the hack is already there, but I agree. It's an interesting question for sure. Just to throw this out really quick though, I also think unfortunately, I think college baseball and softball has to be compared more to hockey and soccer than football and basketball. Not to get like Farbod said, not to get too much into the whole revenue thing, but I just think it's probably a more regional sport in college than I think even in Major League Baseball in some ways it's very localized in how the fan bases work. And I think the season's also really late. A lot of schools are out already, so it's kind of a weird. Unless you're really into it, it's kind of a weird thing to follow. If you're like Michigan, I went there. We made the College World Series final against Vanderbilt. I mean, it was in the middle of it was June, I think, when was the final, and we had been out of school since April.
Yeah.
So I mean, like the students are in their own world at that point. So I just want college hockey and soccer, I think, are really big in certain parts of the country, but obviously they're just not in the same national conversation. So that's those are my 2 cents.
No, it makes sense. You have to bring it up anytime that enters the conversation is you see this contrast between baseball versus the other sports. But yeah, you take it for what it is. You can compare it against maybe closer, like some other more similar sports, and And yeah, the whole point of it is that it is fun despite not being as nationally hyped as college basketball tournaments and NCAA football. So
Can I
that's
throw out one quick thing?
yeah,
Also,
yeah.
sorry, I just remember. I do think there's also a purity to college baseball. That means it's like the true baseball fans' baseball, because the three true outcomes is not an issue that's discussed in college baseball. So I do think
Well, you don't have 20 home run hitters up and down the
Yeah.
lineup in college baseball, which is
if you're the fan who
so you
complains
have
like
to
I
have
want to see
contact
more
guys.
action on a play-by-play basis, like it's the same person who prefers college basketball in a lot of ways. They just want to see like endless movements
Yeah.
and screens and using the 35-second shot clock.
Yeah, can I
It's 30 seconds now.
Oh. That's just one of those things for me personally that I just don't understand even from like a strictly I want to be entertained perspective is like people that prefer college sports to pro sports, and it's like it in like you say it can be viewed as a more pure form of the sport just simply because the talent isn't as good, and it's a little bit more closely relatable to like I don't know, maybe when you played in your playing days, like when you played basketball growing up, like you weren't doing the stuff that the pros are doing. You're doing a little bit more like fundamentally focused stuff, but at the same time it's like I'm really not out here being much more entertained by the string of like infield hits or ground outs versus strikeouts. Like the same with college basketball. Like I'm not more impressed because a team doesn't have anybody that can really like create offense for himself, and it's a much more team reliant sport. Like I just don't get it personally. Like yes, it is its own thing, but like objectively, like why is it more entertaining to you to not like to see less talented players go out there and try to do the same thing that these crazy talented pro athletes, all like in all of them, even the lowest end on the field, are like better than the college level. Like
I mean, a lot of them are just boomers who are saying like, this guy makes a lot of money and doesn't care about the integrity of the sport or whatever. I mean, you can use that argument, and I mean, I see yours too. I do think a lot of people, and Rudy said this. I mean, like college baseball, college softball, very localized. Like a lot of the people who follow those sports, other than like parents of the players or like the students at the school, they're alumni of the school who have been like following that team forever.
Mhm.
So like, I know I'm gonna be following Oregon baseball, and will oftentimes probably have them on over my Angels, but that's just because they're probably sometimes a more watchable, uh, a more watchable product than my Angels. But I mean, you know what I mean.
I do.
Yeah, I just want to throw out really quickly. Yes, I know I have to move on to the topic, but like I think a comparison for that, and I agree with you. Personally, I do agree with you, but I think like minor league sports is a comparison as well for that, which is like you're definitely not watching the better product, but like Farbod's alluding to, you have probably a local connection. I think someone like really likes soccer, you see it across it where many people support a smaller local team that isn't as good, knowing so because they have that emotional connection. But I agree with you. Like the people, I think we're getting
They're getting a little off. Yeah, they're
no, but I just think like it is definitely that person who just wants to be the control, who like just claims that it's like, oh, like this is just like better because it's like not as good. Which like that's definitely a weird take. I'm definitely agree with you.
Yeah, exactly.
This is not to say that college baseball is bad.
No,
college
it's
baseball,
not like they're
baseball is is sometimes more entertaining depending upon not in the sense of like there's bunts and all that, like that's not what makes it more entertaining. Sometimes it's hard to explain. It's just smaller stadiums, it's more intimate, it's just nice. It's just, more like a backyard pickup game as opposed to like big old stadium guys making $30 million a year, whatever.
Yeah, the energy that comes from it.
Too.
The energy that comes from it is awesome. Like I love it. I love going to college athletic events. Like it is its own thing, and for many reasons, very
I'm
like
still
more enjoyable even sometimes than the large pro sports things. But yeah, it wasn't exactly my point. College baseball players, again, very good. Like the worst player on a lot of these college baseball teams would absolutely like decimate the previous tier down in terms of competition. Still very good. They could beat the crap out of all of us. So there's that to mention too. Yeah, I think are we good on the college baseball front? We'll have more to check in on as we actually get a little further along and they go to Omaha and they get to play on the big stage, get some games on ESPN that aren't only on ESPN3, all that good stuff. Looking forward to that.
I got the softball final tomorrow too.
And the softball is wrapping up like right now basically. So
Which is kind of a bummer. Like I wish that went on a bit longer too.
I've watched more of that just because they're at that stage where they're on ESPN now.
No, yeah.
Like so I've seen more of that than the college baseball stuff at this point. But it's good stuff. It's a little break from the MLB stuff that we consume so much of, at least us four.
Especially when you turn on an LB network and it's just sticky stuff, or that Javi Baez made a play.
What does that mean?
I mean, whatever.
Are you referencing something in particular?
I'm referencing probably the worst defensive play I've ever seen.
You've piqued my interest. You want to switch to that?
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, MLB couldn't get enough of Javi Baez's magic. El Mago. They couldn't get enough of his magic when he ran away from first base, and the first baseman actually chased him with 2 outs, and then they tried to get the runner coming home, so they did not tag Javi Baez out. But he has still not reached first base, so they could still throw to first base and get an out, and that run would not count. Except they threw the ball away because nobody was covering. And MLB hyped it up like it was Javi Baez who basically created that play, when in actuality, everything about that play should never have happened. Like, yeah, he ran away. He sort of avoided a tag in a way, but it's such a dumb play. And he did something like this last year too, where it was against the Brewers. Eric Sogard had he got the ball in at second, lazily threw it towards third base instead of calling time and ending the play, and Javi Baez just took home. And they were like, "Oh wow, don't sleep on Javi Baez." It's don't call time, do what you're taught to do. Yeah, it's just that was the hype around that was so dumb, and yeah, you saw it. I don't know.
Oh, we all saw it. I guess that was also between podcasts for us. That was not something we talked about last time, I think. Which you're right. It has been a while since that particular play. First of all, sounds like somebody really doesn't like Javier Baez, just in general.
Javier Baez is nothing without.
I don't know if anybody else is getting those vibes from Ray, but yeah. So that's the first takeaway.
This man might be the most overhyped man in baseball.
He is.
I'm sorry.
He is a much better on-field product than, productivity wins above replacement quality player. I'll give you that. But that play was in fact wild, and I do give Javi credit for even who the heck else would even think, well, I'm just gonna go back to home plate. Most other people would just kind of be walking down the line all right, you got me, all right, we're done. But it's just Javi doing. I don't even know what you call it. Is that in the scouting report? That isn't magic. Running back home isn't magic, if that's what they're calling it. But it is quirky. It is unique.
He called his own man safe, and then he was still safe.
That is much better on-field entertainment product than anything else.
The fans defending the hype for it was even funnier. Than
I loved watching that play. The best,
MLB,
the best part about that was Javi calling safe right next to home plate, and then oh, I gotta go to first. Books it down the line and is safe. Ends up on second base because the ball gets thrown away.
So is him going back towards home plate part of the scouting report? Like they just had something, knowing that the Pirates don't like check or they're just dumb.
Nope. I don't think so. Don't think so. I can pretty safely say that that exact play has never happened at the big league level before. Probably not at any pro level, because
Fact checkers get him.
that is, come at me. There's no
How do
way.
you score that play? It's a ground ball to the first baseman that turned into an E2, right?
No, it wasn't a ground.
Like, how do you score that?
No, the throw came
Yeah, it was a
across
ground
the
ball.
diamond though, and the throw is up the line. That's why the first. So
Yes,
was it
you're
a
right,
third
you're right,
baseman
right.
or short? It was like a 5,
It was a
3,
5,
2, 4.
So wait, does the
and
error
that was
go
the error.
to the? Is there
Probably on the
no,
catcher.
There can't be 2 errors in the same play though.
Probably on the catcher.
Because the catcher ultimately gets him on first base. Yes.
This is a lot going on right
There's
now.
a lot. This is more, and now we're doing this on the fly for a play that happened almost 2 weeks ago now. Maybe we should, maybe we shouldn't. But I don't think I've actually like heard anybody else talking about this. Like, what was that actually scored? I am willing to bet that no.
Now I just feel bad for the score.
There's no exact scoring play like that has ever happened, and honestly, it will never happen again. That is absurd, absurdly dumb. But I loved it. Okay, I'm glad we touched on that, because I honestly didn't even remember that happened between the last podcast and this one. So, you know, that's our opinions on that ridiculousness. The rest of the show we'll just kind of be talking about some smaller news items and riffing on those. Some weird stuff. We always love to talk about weird stuff. Even weirder than that play, somehow. Actually, probably not. Probably not weirder than that play, but equally weird, if nothing else.
Different kind of weird.
Different kind of weird. Well, let's talk about Jared Kelenic, though, who I think last time we podcasted had a very different discussion about Jared Kelenic's call up to the big leagues. And
he was destroying it.
And it was a short stay, because he's back to AAA for Mr. Kelenic already. His first 92 plate appearances, 0.96 batting average, 185 on base, 193 slugging. That doesn't get it done. I think he was on an 0 for 30. I don't know where it ended. 0 for 30 something slide though in there as well.
I don't remember what I was watching, but someone said he was trying to sue the Mariners. He was thinking about suing the Mariners, or his agent was thinking about suing the Mariners for like the service time manipulation stuff after that whole fiasco with their team president. And now the guy on TV said the Mariners need to print out his stat sheet and just settle the case right now. Well, I mean, like I hope, dude. They had the right reason to call him up. He was killing it in AAA before before he was called up. I don't know what happened.
I can tell you a little bit what happened.
Please do. Enlighten me.
He has a 109 BABIP and a 096 ISO, which, I mean, just, he clearly isn't this bad. I don't think any of us are arguing that. I'm not saying he shouldn't have been set down, but he clearly is not getting lucky by any means. I mean, he's still...
You can't call him a bust yet.
Like, his walk rate
No,
is
not at all.
8.7, which is pretty good, honestly, if for how bad all his other,
I tell you who's super relieved at this for now is Mets fans.
Yeah, for another month until he comes back up and starts mashing.
Yeah.
All right, I have a couple who would you rather take scenarios that you need to answer rapid fire. Who would you rather take, a top Mariners prospect or a top Mets prospect to be the big league pan out at this point in time? That is a tough
We
one.
have to decide before you tell us who they are.
No, you don't. Like, just in general, like, who are you taking, the next
Oh,
Mets
I
up
get
and
what
coming
you're saying.
prospect or the next Mariners up and coming prospect? Because they have similar
Is the last up and coming
reputations
prospect
and
by
track
the
records.
isn't the last Mariners up and coming prospect like Kyle Seager? Like
Don't sleep on Dustin Ackley, actually.
Oh god.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like the guy who's like I mean, I feel like that gives me the answer of the Mets, but I have to think about this.
Kelnick is a Mets Mariners prospect,
Ah,
right? So that's why he's
yes.
double
Yeah.
cursed.
I was
the
about
Mets
to say
are-
I'd almost rather have a Mariners prospect who came from the Mets.
I mean, listen, the Mariners still. I'm counting A-Rod and Griffey, so I'm taking them. I don't who the Mets developed. Who was DeGrom wasn't considered a prospect really, so I'm not counting that. So David Wright, it's the last guy I can think of.
The last top
Conforto.
Conforto.
Syndergaard.
Syndergaard
McNeil.
doesn't play.
I mean, yeah.
That's why it's a tough question, man. That's why
Dude, the
it's-
Mets don't play.
if you
Jacob
take
DeGrom's
if you
the
take
only one who plays.
if you take the
But-
Met
but-
prospect, he ain't
The
playing.
name,
The Mets also
The names
trade a
that we
lot
have,
of their
honestly-
prospects. Subtly, like Ahmed Rosario, just like everyone forgot that he was a top prospect, and now he's just like a center fielder.
Yeah, that works.
I mean, well, he couldn't field balls short, so
He also couldn't fill the ball in center for a little bit there too.
What happened to the
Was it-
rotation of like seven?
was
developed aces?
Jimenez in the Lindor deal as well, or was Jimenez always?
Yeah, Jimenez was too, and he's sent down. And also, you have Taiwan Walker, who's like the reverse Kelnick. He was a Mariners prospect who now plays for the Mets.
Yeah, but he wasn't traded for a currently suspended player.
This is the Robinson Cano topic.
this is a lot to follow. I hope everybody is keeping up
Name
with this
all the
one.
players who
I-
played for the Mariners and the Mets.
Go. No, no, stop. Don't do that.
Edwin Diaz.
Stop. No. Yeah, that's okay. The other question was, who are you taking right now? Are you want Jared Kelenic or you want Joe Adele?
Kelenic.
Farbod specifically is the one that I want to
Kelenic.
hear.
Dude, Adele's strikeout rate is horrifying.
It's not
40%.
terrible right now. It's not terrible right now. He's also leading all the minor leagues in homers. But yeah, I don't know. I think Adele.
Sounds like boomers would hate him when he comes up because he's a 3-true outcome guy.
Yeah, you give. I mean, I feel like you give Adele a year or two to develop. I think I'll take Adele.
Yeah. So in the Adele for
We've been saying
Kelenic,
that
who
for
says
like 3
who
years.
says no?
Bro, Adele's 20 years old.
I just don't think guys with that profile tend to succeed.
That is true.
that much.
Okay, I'm gonna not be a homer. I'll take
He
Kelenic.
might be the next Javier Baez with his hitting profile, though. It's just to trigger Ray.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's Jared Kelenic. I don't know. Like, the Angels are still without Mike Trout. Ohtani's still doing the cool stuff that he does.
You walked 3 times today.
He's a really cool guy. What can you say?
Yeah.
Why don't
Dude,
why
it's
don't
basically
they have
Ohtani Grandal. Why don't
What
they
did you
have
say,
what?
Rudy?
I was just gonna ask why isn't Adele up if he's playing that well?
Well, about like I think last I checked, like half of those home runs were just on fastballs, and he still struggles with the off speed.
That's my point.
Yeah. So
Checkmate.
But but like the other half is off non-fastballs. Like, is that
Yeah.
not just as good?
and then, I mean, also you saw his defense last year. I think he has some shoring up to do there. So I mean, he was never supposed to be in the show last year. It's just they wanted real time.
Yeah.
Development.
Has his service time clock started?
Yeah, I think
Oh.
so.
So he's got to work on his defense, but unironically.
So I would just call him up. Just let him be in the show. You're not competing for anything right now. Just
He is
Ouch.
.153.
I mean, if he makes it, he makes it.
Ouch, man.
Ooh.
Huh.
All right. Well, let's get to a few more weird things, and then we'll wrap up for today. Okay. I've never seen this before either, and apparently neither had anybody, groundskeepers or otherwise, present at this game, because during the Phillies Nationals game over the weekend, in the 8th inning, just between pitches, the netting behind home plate just fell off
Wow.
the wire that it was strung up on, and just like fell down over the bleachers, like onto the field, and everybody was like, "Oh, the netting's down. What do we do? What do we do about this?" Like, it took them 20 to 30 minutes to figure out any kind of solution. Props to the grounds crew that ended up getting some rope, stringing it through the net, hoisting it back up like a team of, there's like a photo of them, like, 10 plus groundskeepers hoisting this thing like tug of war style to like get it back up to where it's supposed to be, and then I guess they like tied it off to a handrail or something, and they played the rest of the game like that until somebody who actually knew how to fix it was there. But that's probably something that has not really been thought about until it happened. These are very, very well prepared groundskeeper. Like they're ready for the bees. They're ready for all kinds of weird. They're ready for cats running onto the field. They're ready for all kinds of
You're never
weird.
ready for the gnats though.
No, they haven't figured that one out
The
yet.
gnats in Cleveland.
Yeah,
This is like those situations in some ballparks, at least a couple years back, when fans were getting hit by, like, fans in suites were getting hit by foul balls or whatever. That after that happened, they started putting up like glass paneling protection for the fans. This is like something you just don't think of having a plan B for, or like what to do if all shit hits the fan, and then when it does, you take 25-30 minutes to try to figure out what to do. I mean, good on them for doing that, for figuring it out, but
yeah,
that's just that's crazy.
There's some Eagle Scouts on that grounds team.
You got to look at that knot.
It was
That
a
was
sweet
incredible.
looking knot. Maybe we'll tweet out the knot just to show some love. Yeah, weird stuff. Okay, we'll go back to college baseball for this one too, because stuff like this happens a lot, and there's definitely weirder scenarios that come from it. But we did have a pitch in, I forget what game was it. Do you remember which game it was, Ray?
Arizona State was playing somebody in what region? I forget where they were.
Okay.
I know Arizona State was hitting, but there is a cross up between pitcher and catcher, and it's a fastball instead of a breaking ball. And thankfully, he missed his spot and did not throw it at the catcher. Because that could result in, that's resulted in some nasty injuries even this year. That's why Roberto Perez, the Indians catcher, is out. But so it whizzes by the catcher's glove and it goes straight. It works out that I have a breast pocket on the shirt. It goes straight into the umpire's breast pocket. Like the umpire is down like that when you call the pitch, and it goes straight into his pocket and just like sticks there. it was like it disappears like immediately. You're like, where'd the ball go? His pocket. It was incredible.
Is that weirder, or Yachty's that play with Yachty a couple years back of the ball just sticking to his chest protector?
I think
mention that.
I think the fact that it's stuck.
Everybody now is the fact that it's stuck, because the ball can fit in there.
But we just talked about
everybody's using that now.
We just talked about pine tar. Yeah, Yachty could have just easily had pine tar on there and just stuck to the pine tar, or the pitcher could have had a lot of pine tar on there.
He could have easily just gotten his pitcher ejected right there for having so much pine tar on him.
I think there was definitely stuff on Yachty's chest protector that was sticky. That's why it made it stick, and everybody's using that now to say that pitchers were always using this stuff. It's like, yeah, we knew that. It's like, like people are having revelations like, oh, they've always
used.
This
is a full circle podcast.
It's all coming together.
With the ball sticking to Yachty's chest protectors is actually incredible.
Iconic.
So this is like a 1 in a million shot, Doc. I mean, it's incredible.
I think the ASU game one was weirder, and just that's something that I don't know. You have to go back and watch the video. The reactions from all parties involved was such priceless, like confusion, joy, like what the heck just happened.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that immensely. As
did I. And one last little strange nugget that we'll leave you with, and we'll let this marinate for a bit. We'll let you think about this one, and we'll see it come up again at some point, I'm pretty sure. But Max Muncy, right? Dodgers 3 true outcomes legend Max Muncy. He is not the only Max Muncy in the baseball world anymore. There's a Max Muncy prospect. He is a 50-ish ranked top prospect in for a draft, for the upcoming draft. A draft prospect. That's what they're called. at this time, and it's very bizarre because they are, I believe, two of the three Max Muncies in the entire United States are both baseball players.
But they also share the same birthday, right? 11 years apart.
Yep, there's that too.
August 25th.
Yep, it is a weird glitch that we are witnessing here with
how many people do you think? How many people do you think? How many non-baseball fans do you think texted the non-Dodgers Max Muncy congratulations on winning the World Series? Just not paying attention to which Max Muncy was on the winning team.
How many texts do you think the Major League Max Muncy is going to get when this prospect Max Muncy gets drafted eventually? The other way around.
How confusing is Twitter going to be?
I'm here for it.
Why would you text someone the wrong, thinking it was someone else? How would you have their number?
Rudy, that's part of the joke.
I don't know why he's using text.
My thing is
part,
like that.
It's
like,
part of the joke, Rudy.
That just isn't. Yeah, my thing is like you have that aunt that's just not paying attention to anything like baseball wise or what's going on in your life, and you just see in the news Max Muncy
first, both of their numbers.
I don't know. No,
that's true. That's a good point.
That's not the point. Yeah.
It wouldn't be the weird stuff segment if that's.
Can I throw out
a
quick bonus weird stuff?
What you got for us?
We didn't plan was that my Jordan Montgomery had a stat line that never happened before. Also,
what was it?
On June 4th, he threw 6 1/3, which I just had to quickly ask because I want to know why we list 6 1/3 as 6.1. It makes absolutely no sense. That's nonsense. Because it's not how math.
Because math is real hard for a lot of Americans, we don't want them to think too hard.
How have we not discussed this?
Well, next time we'll have a very in-depth discussion about the fundamental flaws of stats.
We talk about just general like baseball quirks, like stuff that we accept that should not be normal.
But 5 hits, 3 runs, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. So first out of 1.1 million pitching lines since 1901 in regular postseason.
And that is an extraordinarily average pitching line. That's probably the weirdest thing about it. Wow.
It's like how LeBron has never had the stat known as the LeBron, which is the 27, 7, and 7.
But that's what he averages, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Very weird. Weird stats are the best, except when they're just stupid and don't make any sense, like the innings.
Or like they cherry pick like the since, like.
Yeah.
Like
I don't. I saw this as well. A Rockies.
No, that doesn't make sense.
A Rockies broadcast did that recently. They had the only players since like 2011 to have like 5 different category thresholds of stats, and it's him and Mike Trout. Like, just giving Charlie Blackmon some love. There you go. There you have it. All right. That's it for today, guys. That was a good podcast. I had a lot of fun. We'll be back next week. I know we had a little bit of a break. Farbod. Hey, have an awesome graduation, my friend. Also, sorry about your team, but I imagine that hardly will dampen the mood for you.
I'm gonna officially be educated.
Finally,
after Saturday.
Finally,
and I'll actually be back in California. Who'd have thought?
Let's go. We're gonna be back though, the rest of us, next week, and when we'll be back on it here on YouTube if you're watching us with the video, or any other videos that we have. Make sure you're subscribed there if you aren't already, and like I said earlier, follow us on social media if you want to tell us what kinds of things you want us to talk about, or if you just want to say hi, at BeatTheShiftBP, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And yeah, is that it? I think that's it for today. Thanks everybody one last time. As always, Farbod.
Peace.